This is both a near perfect phone and extremely difficult to really talk about in a way that shows like meaningful difference from a lot of other high-end phones. And that's a little problematic. Hello and welcome to the Android Police podcast. My name is Daniel Bader.
My name is Will Saddleberg.
Good job.
Thank you.
You know your name.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't drink enough in Vegas to totally forget it. I had it written down in my hand, memento.
You tried.
I tried.
I bore witness.
Oh man, you were not there for the worst of it. You made the probably objectively correct decision to not go to TCO's Little John concert, which I was
correct.
at. So that was
yes. This is our CES recap episode.
Yes,
and we waited until we got home to record it because as much as we tried to find time during the show, we just couldn't. And
we ran out of time in Vegas, as anyone who has been to CES would tell you is bound to happen. But the bright side is that like this is a video podcast now, because there wouldn't have been video if we had recorded in person. So
that's true.
You got to take it as it comes. But let's talk about CES, Daniel, because we were both there. I was there longer than you, but frankly, you didn't miss anything flying in on Monday. Like Saturday and Sunday were pretty quiet. But you and I were together for a pretty good chunk of it, especially Wednesday. I think we spent most of the day kind of hanging out. Hanging out makes it sound so chill, and definitely not like we were overexhausted by that point. But yeah, it was tell me what you thought of CES.
So I haven't been to CES since 2020, and this was my first time going in a non-editorial capacity where I wasn't running around from conference to conference, basically gleaning as much useful information as possible and then finding a dark, dank corner to park my butt on to write for the next hour while I did the whole thing again for 5 days, and then came home exhausted and plague-ridden. So, in fact, this was my best CES since I was probably in my mid-20s. I've been going since 2010. I would say, like, I didn't get sick, which is a feat in and of itself. And because, I was busy, but I also didn't have to really like hustle in the same way that you did, which felt like a blessing. So yeah, I actually enjoyed it. I got to see a lot of colleagues and friends. I got to meet a lot of really cool people on the PR and marketing side. I got to see some cool products. Not as many as I would have liked, I'll be honest. I think this year lacked and probably for the better, it lacked the sort of AI hardware cohesion that plagued. It did honestly plague last year because, like, at the time we were all pretty hyped on it, or we were circumspect but cautiously optimistic.
Yeah,
and that bottom fell out pretty quickly, I would say, within the first few months of the Rabbit R1 and what was the other one's name? The Humane Pin,
AI Pin. Yeah,
and then all the subsequent other ones. You and I saw a bunch of cool stuff. Lenovo, as always, put on a really good show. Yeah. They had the Legion Go S and the Legion Go 2 prototype there. That looked promising. They had the rollable laptop and a couple of gaming Android tablets that seemed like not completely throwaways, which I appreciate. TCL had its new Next Paper phone, which I guess more importantly, their new Next Paper technology, which I really like. And I think bodes well for the sort of like unifying the single purpose products that you and I both enjoy using, right? The idea of not having to carry like a separate e-reader while also getting the benefits of an e-reader from your phone, I think is quite promising and interesting. And then like there were these like ridiculous products, the LG Cat, the cat play thing, which nobody asked for, but LG always does this stuff.
It's like a cat tower. Yeah, LG's Aero Cat Tower, all one word, which is it doubles as an air purifier.
Right.
Sure. Okay.
Obviously, cars were a big big part of the show. Honda unveiled a couple of concept cards, which look great, and Sony and Honda gave kind of the official pricing and availability for the Afila, which has been teased every year for the last 5 years.
They're doing it.
And it looks like an EV. So,
yeah,
well done. But I guess an EV that you can play God of War in the back seat of, which, you do you.
That starts at $90,000. I just want to say it starts at $90,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a cheap car. It's not a.
No,
this is not going to be a successful car.
But you could probably take your current vehicle and retrofit it to play God of War in the back of it for much cheaper than $90,000. Is all
correct. You can get Exhibit to pimp your
you
ride.
You got it. Yeah, there you go.
That's it. I was thinking of Ludacris, but no, it was Exhibit who did the Pimp My Ride.
Yes.
And then I think the two main themes of the show for me were just NVIDIA everywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you are a mobile gamer or a console gamer or a PC gamer. NVIDIA just owned the show.
Yeah.
Obviously, the 5000 series GPUs were the star, but NVIDIA just had its paws in everything. And they had the primary keynote. It was NVIDIA's show, basically. And then when you weren't paying attention to NVIDIA, you were paying attention to robot vacuums that were very, very slowly ambling over to kill you in your sleep.
It is crazy that every robot vacuum maker was like, this is the year that they can climb up 1 to 2 inch ledges.
Or we have an arm that comes out to
or the arm.
Pick up a sock and then move it away.
And I'm not against any of this. It's just that I don't know if this solves the bigger problems I have with RoboVax, but it's a step towards solving the problems that I have with RoboVax. So I'm not into it.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, this was the kind of chaotic CES that had a little bit of something for everybody, right? Whether you were into mobile and you wanted to see cool accessories, there was a new mobile gaming dock that Razer unveiled. There were a couple of gaming handhelds that I think were quite interesting. Every company that has made a gaming handheld either had a new one or teased a new one.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of interesting but not mind-blowing products. And to me, I think that was what made CES feel cohesive in a way. It's there wasn't one thing that overshadowed, but inevitably underwhelmed because it overshadowed.
Right.
So I think overall it was a good show. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. It was very gadget focused. I think you're forgetting the other product category that we saw 20 of, which was smart glasses. We're trying to be the thing. I remain skeptical of smart glasses or their future success in the mainstream, but I'm happy to see companies trying to do different and weird things. Yeah, I mean, and looking through our Best of CES awards, you've called up most of them. I guess I'd re-highlight the Legion Tab Gen 3, mostly because it's an 8.8 inch Android tablet with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and 12 gigs of RAM. And
it's basically an iPad mini, but for Android.
With a display you would want to use.
Yeah.
Which is great. It doesn't have biometrics, which is the downside. And I don't understand why it doesn't, but it gave me big NVIDIA Shield tablet memories, I guess. Very much in that vein if you missed that tablet. And then Belkin had these they were called Soundform Anywhere, these open ear earbuds that are fit into this really tiny case with a keychain hook around it. It's a really thin case that are going to be sold for under $40 and are basically designed to be your secondary pair of earbuds that are just kind of on your keychain or whatever. And I'm super into that idea of as long as they sound fine, the idea of just having emergency earbuds around for if I'm in the store and I'm in a long line or something. I don't know, it's an idea that I have not seen a lot of companies do, and yet they're here. I'm excited about it. So yeah, I don't know. It was a gadget heavy show. And obviously we're not even getting into there were lots of TV announcements as always and stuff like that. Lots of laptops. Dell decided to blow up their entire naming structure for some reason. Killed the XPS line. Yeah. But for the most part, it was a gadget heavy show. And I don't know, I'm like into that. Like I would rather all of these companies kind of continue to work in the niches that they've carved out for themselves, right? Like Razer being like, well, we're already like a gaming company. Let's make a dock that works for all of these gaming handhelds, or Anker making like the power bank to end all power banks. I'm much more into that than seeing how like companies are trying to shoehorn AI features into products that don't need them. Yeah, I don't know. It was exhausting. I walked, I think Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday walked 8 miles a day in the world's most unwalkable city, which I feel like is a feat. Yeah, so I'm into it, but yeah, it was an exhausting show.
Yeah. Just getting around Vegas is just anything in Vegas is expensive, but getting around is bananas because you have to Uber everywhere. Walking takes a million years, and
if you can do it, sometimes you straight
you
up
just
can't walk somewhere. And Google Maps will try to tell you can, and you will start, and no, you will hit roadblocks that Google Maps does not know is there, and it's miserable.
Okay, so coming back now, we're sort of both recovered / recovering.
Yes.
And you're right about the smart glasses. I do want to linger on that a second.
Sure.
Because I didn't try any. I regret not making the time to do so. But I think what's interesting about them is that it's very clear this was the year that we got smaller companies with access to the underlying technology that was in previous years only available to like the Googles and Metas of the world. And as a result, you actually have decent products that can potentially make good on their promise, whether it's to offer a pair of glasses that look unassuming, don't have massive frames or, handles or whatever, and they offer one of a number of features such as microphones or headphones or both. Some of them offer cameras. I think the Meta smart glasses, the Ray-Bans, are still by far the best known and the most popular, and I saw them everywhere. But there are companies that are starting to offer that and little heads-up displays in the actual lens of the glasses. We saw a bunch of influencers wearing those glasses and said that they are useful, right? Like you can do real-time translation, you can do mapping, you can do things like that. And, we had a chance to talk to a few folks for some of the bigger companies and ask them questions about, when you add a screen, obviously you add a bunch of complexity around platform, around software in general. And until now, most of them haven't really had access to anything open source. So they've had to develop their own pieces of software that as layers to connect to iOS and Android. And what's really promising, I think, to my eyes, pun not intended, is Android XR coming in and sort of, it's unfortunate to use this given how much regulatory scrutiny Google is under right now, but democratize access to a proper AR VR platform. And as much as we may not want it, and as much as Meta might go on Joe Rogan and complain about it, the fact is that when you own the platform, you have a much better opportunity to own the integration. And while a lot of these glasses may perform better on Android because the hooks are there and the APIs are more readily available, I just think that it's going to be really interesting to see how many of them pivot to Android XR in the next few years, just to offload the software overhead and focus on hardware, right? Similar to how phone manufacturers have done the same thing. But yeah, I think from my perspective, like smart glasses were the low key most interesting category, but none of them stood out to me as being like, oh, you have to go out and buy them right now.
Agreed. It felt like they were all like collectively taking like a big step at the same time, but I don't know if they've taken a big step towards any kind of like mainstream success or even like demand from those who might not be like as entrenched in the enthusiast communities as we are.
Right. Exactly. So there were a bunch of kind of co-announcements. One just being Meta blowing up its DEI and fact checking initiatives during the show, which I think overshadowed a lot of things, and
Mhm.
that's not surprising, just given like the thing that's happening or the thing that was happening 2 weeks after CES started, which is the Trump inauguration. That I think took center stage in a lot of ways. Meta was not a big presence at the show, but like
No.
everybody was just talking about Zuckerberg, and that also kind of played into Google's lack of presence at the show, which I think was quite
Weird.
interesting. Like they had a few
Yeah.
announcements, but nothing big.
Yeah, they didn't have a booth, which is uncommon. Like usually there are some like Android announcements or Android adjacent announcements timed to CES under embargo that they will show off alongside like other already existing products and like a large booth outside of the convention center. And this year they had a Google TV demo, right, with Gemini of like waking up the television when you approach it, or with TCL, I mean, waking up the television when you approach it. But otherwise, like, yeah, very quiet show from Google, which is, yeah, interesting. I don't know if that just means they don't have much to say right now, or if they're keeping their cards close to the chest ahead of like IO in a few months. But yeah, not much to say at the moment.
Maybe out of an abundance of caution, Google has quieted down right now,
I think
and
that's probably correct. Yeah.
like that's okay. It had a very busy Q4. So the thing we know obviously is that Android 16 is going to launch earlier this year. They've already updated Gemini a number of times in the last few weeks. They shipped a lot of new features towards the end of last year. And I think it's very likely that, like, alongside the Android XR announcement, when it gets closer to being released, we're going to actually see some hardware from Google. If not a first party pair of glasses, then at least something like with a partner. Uh, Obviously, we know Samsung is developing a number of headsets and glasses. And although that isn't going to launch now, like with the S25, it's probably going to happen in the second half of this year. So yeah, I mean it'll be busy in the AR VR world in 2025. And ironically, Apple is not supposed to make any announcements around that this year. Mark Gurman, in his Power On newsletter last night, said that Apple won't unveil a new Vision Pro until 2026 at the earliest. There's going to be a full year and 2 years between announcements for Apple.
I'm surprised by that. I genuinely expected that they would move to make a cheaper model this year. I'm not saying like a true MetaQuest rival, but like I expected that they'd come back with a pared down like $1,500 headset, something that like is still expensive and that most people still won't buy, but they could convince like, oh, I don't need to update my MacBook Air this year. My M2 Air is holding on fine. But you know what I will spend $1,500 on is a Vision Air, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I am genuinely surprised that that is not happening this year.
I mean, even at $1,500, like, oof, that's a lot of money.
I
So
agree, but like that is a company that I think has a legion of fans that maybe they can't convince people to spend $3,500 on a new product category, but I think they could convince people to spend $1,500. Not again, not everybody, but certainly far more people.
yeah, one of the things that, as it has for the last few years, dominated the show, thematically at least, was gaming. So obviously on the high end, NVIDIA announced its 5000 series chips, Blackwell architecture. They made big claims about DLSS 4 and how you can get 4090 performance from a 5070 for $550 when
Yeah,
paired with DLSS 4. I
yeah,
saw demos of this. It's incredible tech. It's also kind of a lie, but the fact that they're claiming double the performance between the 5090 and 4090 is bananas. The
yeah.
$2,000 MSRP, also bananas. Not that you'll be able to find one of those for the next 6 months to a year anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, NVIDIA is just like leaps and bounds ahead of everybody on the GPU side. And on the mobile gaming handheld side, we saw the Lenovo Legion Go S in both Steam and Windows varieties. I think the Steam OS version is by far the most interesting. $550. It's got the same chip as the Steam Deck. So it's got the Z1 Extreme in it. Not quite as powerful as the upcoming Z2 Extreme, which will be available in April or May, I believe. But the ergonomics of the Go S are incredible. The screen is really good.
It's a different. I had to look. It's a different chip. The Steam Deck has a semi-custom chip. I think the first Legion had a Z1 in it.
I mean, it does have a custom chip in it, but it's not really custom.
The one in the Steam Deck, they don't say it's got a Z1 in it though.
That's true, but it is basically a Z1.
Sure,
like for all intents and purposes.
Sure,
I mean, this just looks like a very good option. Although, to be honest with you, if you're considering a Legion Go S with Steam OS, why are you not just considering a Steam Deck OLED? But I guess the OLED's a little bit more expensive. And this is still another option, right? It's officially licensed Steam OS. Yeah. It seems like a really nice piece of hardware. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we spent, you and I and Taylor spent like a decent amount of time at Lenovo's booth, like playing around with all of these. And yeah, I mean my instinct's probably still to push people towards an OLED Steam Deck because the OLED display on it is so nice, and like it was noticeable that it was like an LCD panel on the Legion Go S. But at the same time, like if you are able to try both out and you like prefer something about one or the other, like I think they're pretty comparable units. Like I think there are differences in a way where like someone might be able to select, oh, I want to go with the Steam Deck versus, oh, I want to go with the Legion Go S. But like I don't know, like I didn't come out of it being like this is better or worse than the Steam Deck. It is just a different option, which I think is like maybe probably the healthiest thing that could happen for like competition in that space is to have a Steam OS, like Steam OS ecosystem. Become a platform, an ecosystem that because I agree with you, Windows is not particularly good on handhelds or really as an operating system largely in general these days. I have lots of issues as for Windows as a desktop OS, and I use it every day. And so I'm happy to see Valve come in and be like either completely push Microsoft out of this space altogether or force Microsoft to think about how they approach the space a little more thoughtfully.
Well, during the show, Microsoft did say that it is bringing more Xbox features to Windows on handhelds. And I suspect at some point in the future, there's going to be sort of a lean back SteamOS-like layer, I guess, by default.
I think they have to at this point.
You know, it relying on the OEMs like Lenovo and Asus to build those layers themselves as like apps just doesn't make a ton of sense, and they're wildly inconsistent in terms of experience, and they're all just front ends for Steam and Epic and GOG anyway, and it feels like Microsoft just has to own this. And obviously it's going to preference Game Pass, but that's okay as long as it doesn't make it an exclusive conduit for Game Pass, and you can still access all the other, because SteamOS, as great as it is, its biggest limitation right now is that it makes it very difficult to access your other libraries, right?
Yeah.
You do have to download either these like plugins for Epic or GOG or Amazon Prime Gaming, or you have to go into the desktop mode, and there's still the Proton layer, which does add a little bit of overhead. So Windows will always have the advantage of just being Windows, and you can run your shit and it's easy. But getting to the point where things are easy is really hard on Windows. And I cannot tell you the number of times when I've loaded up my Legion Go only to have to plug in a mouse and a keyboard just to get anything done. And it boggles my mind that you can't just use this thing like a smartphone because Windows doesn't have decent native touchscreen keyboard and mouse support. It just feels so backwards. So that was the show. I don't know if there were many other things on your list that you wanted to talk about.
No, not really. It was for as busy as we were, it was one of those things where we were really trying to see everything that we had when we were digging through like both pre-CES and then in the early days of like looking for what was an interesting thing to see at the show. And I guess I'm speaking more for myself and Taylor now, but like a lot of it was us like actually going to see those things and being like, yeah, this is worthy of an award. It just takes up so much time, but like it means that we end up seeing a lot of cool mobile accessories and things that I think people should check out. I think we tried really hard this year to keep it to stuff that Android users will want to buy in like the coming months, and not just like, oh, like they say that they have a large action model that's going to change your life, but like we haven't heard or seen anything about it. Like it was a very tangible year this year, I feel like. And obviously like we saw a bunch of stuff that like maybe doesn't correlate directly to the site. Like I think we all had fun playing with like Lenovo's rollable laptop. I can't imagine the world where I'm buying that on account of it's $3,500, but very cool that it exists. So I'm happy to see it. But yeah, it was a hell of a show. Ready to spend 12 months recovering before I go back to Vegas.
Amen. Let's move into the other kind of announcement that happened alongside CES, but it wasn't at CES really, although most of our friends, including you, brought it to CES, and we're talking about the OnePlus 13. So there were, I mean, you can now disclose that you went on a cruise sponsored by OnePlus in order to test the IP69 capable OnePlus 13 by throwing it in the ocean and then jumping in after it to get it back like a dolphin.
Yeah, the silliest tech briefing I've ever been invited to. I think it's safe to say I can't think of anything that comes close. Yeah, this was a month ago now. We set sail a month ago as we record this on January 13th. It was certainly an experience. I don't know if it did a good job of like really showing me the strengths and weaknesses of the phone outside of the fact that they had brought along portable washing machines and dishwashers to show what IP69 water resistance is. But like, yeah, it was a good time. And then once we kind of got review units, like I think everyone who I've talked to who had a OnePlus 13 started taking photos with it and was like, oh shit, is this thing pretty good at like capturing photos in a way that like maybe we've been a little bit exhausted by like the Pixel's very like neutral bordering on washed out look, and the iPhone's like ultra HDR aesthetic before you tweak anything on there, and whatever Samsung is up to. The long and the short of it, I suppose, is the saying, is that this is a really good phone. I have kind of come around on Oxygen OS. I don't think it's as rock solid as the Pixel's build of Android, but I think it's at least comparable with One UI, and I actually think it gets in my way less than One UI does, which surprised me a lot. The design is mostly good. It's mostly flat screens, not quite a fully flat edge, but it's much more usable than I would say the OnePlus 12 was. It's got this faux leather back, at least on the blue model that I reviewed, that is really, I don't love the look of it, but is really comfortable in the hand. So I can't complain about it too much. And yeah, I mean, it kind of pairs together like decent Android experience with like shockingly good battery life and a good camera to make like a phone that I have continued using. I finished my review right before CES started. I guess I technically turned in the review unit from my hotel room in Vegas, but like it was essentially done when I got to Vegas, and I've continued to use the phone. It's still my daily driver right now because I like it that much. It was the device I needed to get through something as intense as CES, because I think if I had switched back to my Pixel 9 Pro, as much as I like it, for the amount of things I was doing on my phone while not on consistent Wi-Fi, I think would have killed that Pixel pretty quickly. And the OnePlus 13 got through every single day of CES without breaking a sweat. So yeah, happy to talk a little bit more about it. But my conclusion is basically that if you are looking for something a little different, if you are tired of like the Samsungs and Googles of the Android world, like the OnePlus 13 is absolutely worth considering, with the caveat being that if you buy your phones through your carrier, usually you will not be able to do that here. So, which is a bit of a bummer.
Here's what's so interesting about this is it exposes where we're at with smartphones in general,
Yeah.
in that this is both a near perfect phone and extremely difficult to really talk about in a way
Yeah.
that shows like meaningful difference from
Yeah.
a lot of other high-end phones.
I would agree with that.
And
Yeah.
that's a little problematic. So on the one hand, this is basically the Find X8 Pro in another
Yes.
casing.
Yes.
It's got
With a
the
different camera
slightly different
system.
camera, a
Slightly different. Well, it's
worse
missing a
camera.
lens. Yeah.
Right, but the main sensor is slightly worse.
Yes, I believe so.
And the it only has one of the telephotos, right?
Yeah.
Because the Find X8 has a 6x and a 3x.
Yeah.
Or am I wrong about that? I keep
No, you're
forgetting.
right. No,
Okay.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. On the other hand, this is just like, I think, a cleaner design, and the software is slightly better than the Find X8 Pro, even though ColorOS is kind of interchangeable at this point with Oxygen OS. And yeah, in general, like, there's very little to fault this phone for at $899, especially since if you're buying it from OnePlus, you get the upgraded memory and storage, and you get $100 just for trading in any phone, including like a broken phone. So it feels like a pretty good deal in a way that, say, the Galaxy S25 Plus or Ultra probably won't.
Right. Especially if the Ultra has like a rumored price increase. Like if that thing goes up to $1,400, you are really starting to, look at these two very similar like 6.8-inch devices side by side and be like, is an S Pen really worth $500?
I mean, we can say that categorically on the show right now without knowing anything about the phone.
True.
No. The answer to that is no.
Well, you're right, because you know what? If you were to compare this to the S24 Ultra, a phone that is like you have been able to buy for 12 months now, and I know and am very familiar with, it's like, is it worth 400? Is the S Pen worth $400? Jumping from 900 to 1,300? It's like the answer is still no. So
no,
yeah.
Exactly, it's no. And what I think we'll find out very soon, because Unpacked is on January 22nd, which, as we're recording this, is 9 days away.
Oh boy, is it!
Oh yeah, you're gonna be it.
Can't wait to fly back to the West Coast again. I can say that. It's not.
Say that.
They've announced the thing. Yeah, I can say that. I'll be there.
But I think what's interesting here is, like, this is just a good phone, and what you're gonna get with with the Galaxy S25 is more than a phone, whether you want it or not. You're gonna get AI gimmicks. You're gonna get an S Pen. You're going to get just like a whole bunch of claims.
I think that's kind of the difference, right? Is that like all of this, like this comes with AI gimmicks and whatnot, right? Like you can find like Oxygen OS 15 is chock full of AI insert verb here the same way that One UI is. But like the difference is that it's so easy to ignore, right? Like if you are probably a Google Photos user. So all of the camera stuff that is hidden in the built-in gallery app in the OnePlus 13, throw it away. You're not going to see it. You're just never going to find it. There's like AI screen analysis tools that have accidentally activated like once or twice. But like, again, you're really not going to run into it unless you hit the right button combination, which is probably the biggest complaint I have about Oxygen OS, is that sometimes like the like features that like would be hidden under an advanced features menu in One UI are so hidden here that you might not even know they exist, and depending on your outlook, that might not matter. It might actually be good that you struggle to find some of the stuff where you go like, who would ever want that? But a lot of that stuff is here. It's just not going to bother you unless you wanted to, which is I think how I would prefer it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and we're looking at another year of like of iterative improvements for the S25 line, it seems, just based on the recent leaks. So here you get, again, this is only if, although OnePlus will likely keep this deal longer than it says, because it always does, but you pay $899.99, you get an upgrade to the 16 gig of RAM, 512 gig storage version. The 3 colors are awesome. I have the Black Eclipse one, which has sort of a kind of a rough stone
Yeah.
look to it. Harkens back to the early sandstone days of the OnePlus lineup. There's the Arctic Dawn version, which is white. It's kind of like creamy white. It's very similar to the Find X8 version of the same color. But the Midnight Ocean is where I think most people will land. It's this vibrant blue. It's got a
There we go.
Will's holding it up
Yeah.
For anybody on the
For
video
video
pod.
listeners, yeah.
It's
got some on the
great,
back.
and I really like it. And unfortunately, here, so I have to caveat it by saying, so OnePlus started a trend, although actually Oppo started the trend last year, but OnePlus is continuing the trend of saying that its phone supports magnetic, MagSafe accessories
Yeah.
by offering cases that have magnets on the back instead of on the phone itself.
I have mine somewhere. I'm going to try to, you keep talking. I'm going to try to find my case.
What that means in earnest is that you just have to spend an extra $40 on a case. Although right now, when you buy the phone, you get the magnetic case included. The case is great. I will say they're high quality cases. You'll probably want to put a case on your phone anyway. And then you have a case with all of the Qi 2 fixins, right? You get MagSafe accessory support. You get wireless charging, locking, right? All of the things. It's great, but it's a case. It's not the same as the iPhone, which just has support for magnets in the phone. Whether you'll care or not, that's up to you. But you don't get any of that natively, and you don't get the case in the box, which is just something to keep in mind.
So I think I already put it in my phone box, so I'm not gonna dig through it. But what I would say is that talking to the OnePlus team, like they seem to have basically decided, or at least their reasoning, their public facing reasoning is that, as you said, Daniel, most people use a case on their phone, and so they don't see a reason to use what they see as valuable internal space within the phone to put magnets in it when most people are going to put a case on their phone anyway, which is fair. Like if they have the data to back that up, and to be honest, I don't doubt it. I feel like 99% of people have their, even their iPhone in a case. So it makes sense. I feel like we're going to have the same conversation in 2 weeks because the rumor is that Samsung is going to do the exact same thing with the Galaxy S25 series. Kind of hilariously, and this it brings us back to CES for a minute, but like the Wireless Power Consortium put out a statement during CES with quotes from Samsung and Google being like, we vow to support Qi 2 on our upcoming devices, but like both of the statements were pretty unclear as to in what way they would support Qi 2, and like I would not be surprised if both of those companies and not just Samsung like go the way of like being like, magnets are built into our cases now. We didn't bother to put them in the phones, but technically if you buy our $30 to $50 first party case, you can use the charging accessories that you want to use the way that OnePlus did it. So that's my guess. OnePlus put out like a 50-watt magnetic wireless charger puck with a fan built into it that I believe they've said is for like gamers specifically. So because obviously if you already have the USB plug, the OnePlus fast charging USB-C plug and cable, you could just plug the phone in and get 80 to 100 watts of charging speed, which is faster than 50 and quieter. But they seem to think that it's for people who need to hold the phone on both ends for when they're playing Genshin Impact, I suppose. It's there. It's kind of a non-factor for me that technically this phone has MagSafe support if you are willing to buy like their case for it, which I kind of don't like. I'm on the opposite side of you. I don't like that the carbon fiber case I have, at least like it's the opposite of the blue leather finish on the OnePlus 13, where like the blue leather finish doesn't pick up like any smudges or fingerprints at all, and the carbon fiber case, for whatever reason, like it is all smudge, all fingerprint for me.
Yeah, I have the sandstone case, and
there you go.
That one's I think
that might be
best
why.
one.
Yeah. No, I think if I had a different case, I might like it a little bit more.
I'm looking at the Canadian trade-in stuff, and it's actually to some extent, well, it's not better because the exchange rate kind of screws you, but the trade-in stuff is better. So $8.99 US, obviously you get a free case, you get $100 US with any device, so you can lower that to $7.99 if you want. In Canada, it's $12.49, so it's not cheap, but it kind of goes by the exchange rate. You get $150 Canadian for any device. and you get a free pair of OnePlus Buds Pro 3,
Oh,
which
okay.
are
I mean,
very good. And I would
yeah,
highly
that's not bad at
recommend
all.
choosing that one over the free case if you want, because that's like $270.
Yeah.
And I like those earbuds probably more than any other right now. So I would say that's a really good deal if you don't have a pair of earbuds as well. And yeah, and you also get the storage and RAM upgrade too. So
Nice.
this is a good deal for most people who can buy it, and it would be my recommendation. Even knowing what we know about the S25 series, I would say this is probably a better product overall, unless you really need on the Ultra the telephoto.
Yeah, I would say the biggest problem with the camera on the OnePlus 13 is that the second you're past like 10x zoom, the AI enhancements kind of take it too far. I would say like it's
Yeah,
if you
but
zoom
that's
in
not
really far on this thing, it starts really over smoothing and you will not be happy with the results.
our colleague Alex Doby, who had an Honor Magic 7 Pro, I believe, with him at the show, showed me just how egregious Honor's AI
Yeah, it's
like
bad.
zoom enhancement feature is. It basically creates a CGI version of the thing that you took a photo of.
He was showing me, I think, probably the same photo samples in the cab we took together to something. I forget what hotel. Yeah, very bad. I'm
Very bad.
sure if history is any indicator, I will have plenty of complaints about the S25's camera, but I don't think that like over AI optimization of zoom photos will be one of them. I don't think it will just fully make things up out of nowhere. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong, but
Who knows? I mean,
yeah.
that's what happened last year. So
Yeah, well, I mean, genuinely, like last year's, like I would say, the S24 was a bit of a disappointment for me, especially in like the camera space. And so, like, I am waiting to see how Samsung has made changes this year that will catch it back up to being a recommendation. But like, between the Pixel 9 series being better than ever and the OnePlus 13 being like a real, like, especially like I don't think it will fully win people like when like Note 9 people over, but if you are like one of those people still on like a Note 9 or a Note 10 and you're not seeing what you want to see from Samsung, you might find it on the OnePlus 13. It's worth looking. Both the like Google iPhone-esque approach to Android and the like enthusiast approach to Android, what used to be filled by Samsung in many ways. Both of those niches are kind of covered right now. So I don't know where Samsung is going to fall in here unless they like kind of blow everyone away with the S25. We'll see.
yeah, I doubt it, but we'll see. As always, I'm cautiously optimistic, but
Yeah.
who knows?
We should mention that OnePlus had two phones. We've been talking about the one I reviewed, but the OnePlus 13R is also here. The embargo lifted a few days later. And so Stephen Radokia, who's been on the show before, reviewed this one for us, gave it a 9 out of 10. I should say I gave the OnePlus 13 a 9 out of 10, if I didn't already say that. Much like the 12R last year, this is a fantastic like mid-range flagship. It's $600 now, but you get a design that I almost think is better than the OnePlus 13. It's fully flat, right? So there's no curves at all. It feels a little more modern to me. It's maybe a little less comfortable in the hand, but it's got this like matte frame that I think is excellent. And like, I don't know, I like the design of this phone a lot. Great battery life, as you'd expect. Software, kind of the same story here. It's really the big problem is like it still doesn't have wireless charging and the cameras are still pretty lackluster. This doesn't have the Hasselblad color profiles or color tuning or processing that the regular OnePlus 13 has. But like, it's more expensive than last year's model, but $600 for a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 device with a really good screen and a solid design is it's a pretty good price.
Yeah, it's S24
Yeah.
level performance specs in general, objectively better and more interesting design. I would
Yes.
probably venture to say a better camera, although I haven't tested the two side by side.
Yeah.
But yeah, $600 is pretty good for this. And I agree with you. I actually like the design of the 13R better than the 13, as do
Yeah.
you. And the omissions like wireless charging, like the Hasselblad color profiles, it only has a 2x telephoto, which is not a prism camera.
Right.
So it's a lot smaller. It doesn't really have the same fidelity. It's got an 8 megapixel ultra wide rather than the 50 on the 13 itself. But in general, this is a really good phone. You're getting more bang for your buck than you would say like a Pixel 8a or upcoming 9a, even though that phone will be cheaper. But this falls right in the middle of that like cost to performance ratio.
Yeah.
And really, you don't lose much from going to the 13R from the 13. So like, it's a lot cheaper than say the stock Pixel 9, but you're getting a really close to the Pixel 9 experience. And if you're into like gaming, this is actually a much more capable chip than the Tensor G4.
Yeah, if your primary phone use is like mobile gaming and you are, on a $600-ish budget, like this is the device to get over something like the 8A or like the Galaxy S24 FE. Like this phone will blow both of those out of the water on performance and honestly, like, yeah, I think the 8A probably takes better photos, but like even the S24 FE, I think the main lens here, although it might be lacking compared to true flagships, I think probably at least meets something like the S24 FE, if not outperforming it a little bit based on Steven's camera samples. So, and camera samples I've seen in other reviews. So it's nice to see a company that isn't like Google or Samsung putting out pretty reliably good phones. This is the second year in a row, or maybe even the third, because I liked the OnePlus 11 quite a bit too. The third year in a row where like you can look at the OnePlus flagships for the year and be like, especially if you are looking for something that isn't Google or Samsung, like jump on it. It's nothing wrong with it.
And then like OnePlus was not the only company to launch phones during CES, but it was the only relevant one for North Americans. Realme, Redmi, and Poco, so like Xiaomi and Oppo essentially launched a whole bunch of mid-range phones.
Yeah.
So Poco, which is a sub-brand of Xiaomi, launched the X7 and X7 Pro. And I bring this up not because the phones themselves are remarkable, but because they released a just truly insane Marvel edition of this phone.
I haven't seen this.
And you have to see this. It is insane.
Oh my god, this is nuts. It's like an Iron Man theme.
It's an Iron Man theme. It's got Iron Man branding.
Yeah.
It's got a massive box, Iron Man branding. It's got like an Iron Man skin. It's just like it's meant for the Indian market primarily. But I just love these tie-ins. And if you want to see some really good photos of it, our friend Harish Janalagada over at Android Central has some great photos of it, of the box and like unboxing experience and of the phone itself. Yeah, it's just like it's a mid-range phone, and for all intents and purposes, it's running a Dimensity 8400, 12 gigs of RAM. It's got a decent display and all that stuff, but like that doesn't really matter. If you buy this thing, you're not buying it for the specs. You're buying it because it's an Iron Man themed phone.
Yeah. I mean, $369 as an early bird price is pretty solid though. I should, and maybe this is the perfect place to promote it, but if you want to hear me talk a little bit about this and other phones, you can go back and listen to the mobile tech podcast episode with Miriam Jouar. I was on like 2 weeks ago, I guess, or a week and a half ago, like right before CES. We talked about this. So if you are looking for more me in your life, and you're looking for a
Who
me
isn't
that doesn't
looking
sound
for more Will
quite
in
as,
your life?
I'm sure plenty of people are looking for less, trying to minimize their the Will quota of their life. But yeah, I was on. It was a really fun episode with Miriam. So go listen to that. But yeah, we talked about this one here. We did not talk about the Iron Man edition. I don't think that was official yet. I did not know about this.
This one, it's incredible.
It's crazy. Yeah, even the case. It's like a weird bumper case that like wraps around the back to like show it off specifically. It's very odd. Crazy.
Yeah, we miss out on these things because we're extremely boring here in North America. We don't get any of that exciting stuff.
Go buy another iPhone is what the market says. Yeah.
I want to say though, just to like bring things back to CES. So I brought, as most tech reporters do, I brought 2 phones, 2 SIM cards with me. And my secondary phone this year was the Moto Razr Plus.
Yeah.
And I will say this thing completely crushed it. It was
Really? You didn't tell me
because
this.
I loved having this phone that I had folded in my pocket for whenever I just like either my primary phone was charging or like I just needed quick access to something
You
on my
were
lock
bored
screen.
listening to me talk at lunch and you wanted to discreetly check your notifications. Yeah, I get it. All of those things.
All of the above. So
Yeah.
I just think this thing was a workhorse. It survived with flying colors,
Oh, yeah.
and I cannot recommend enough bringing a flip phone to a trade show.
I don't know why this is surprising me. I did the exact same thing with the 2023 Razer Plus last year. I just didn't do it this year because I was pretty ready to put all my chips in the on the OnePlus 13 as my, because like the nice thing is like every time I switch away from a OnePlus phone for a while and then I come back to it, you forget how comfortable charging it is. Like the fact that you can just be like, yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna like I'm stopping back at the hotel for like 20 minutes to like take a quick shower, get cleaned back up before I go out for like 6 more hours of events. And like you throw the phone on for 15 minutes and it's like, okay, you went from 55%, but now you're at 80%. And like you were already probably fine, but now you are definitely fine. You are good to go. It's a marathon device, truly.
Let's talk about both of our favorite products of CES, or like both of our favorite product rather, which is this Anker power bank that has not one but two retractable cables built in. Well, sorry, it's got one retractable and one like loop cable.
I have it. Should I just show it on camera?
I have one too. So I have.
You got one too?
I came home and got a random package in the mail.
They had shipped you one? That's awesome.
It was the same thing that you got, and I was very happy about it. Yeah, show people the wares.
Directly behind me. Okay. Yeah, it's this. It's like the size. This is an 8-ounce Red Bull can. So if this was a 12-ounce Red Bull can, it's the size of that.
I love that that's your banana. It's not like a banana, but it's a yellow Red Bull can to scale.
It's not even. I don't even really like this flavor. It's just what I have. And so yeah, it's a retractable cord, USB-C cord here that like magnet folds in.
That was the trend of CES. Retractable
cords. There were a lot of
power banks.
Yeah, and then
it's like GAN has enabled the space inside all of these power banks to just be taken up by coiled cords, and I'm here for it because I love it.
Great though is that they've also, all of these manufacturers have gotten better at like retractable cords. I feel like when I was younger they all felt like total shit, and this one is really smooth and like easy to pull out and pull back in. Maybe that'll change over time, but yeah, the second cable, as you were saying, is this like lanyard that just becomes like a, so you've already got two built in, then you've got a USB A and a C port on the side. You can use any of the built-in cables for charging too. It's got a screen. Got a bunch of different, you can do a bunch of different modes on the screen. Yeah, it's great. It's weird to be excited about a power bank, but like I looked at this thing and I was like, this is the only power bank I really need, because it can do, I believe it can do 100 out and charge at 100 watts. And
so it's 165 watts total.
Yes.
25,000 milliamp hours, but it can do 100 watts to a single device.
Yeah.
And it can also charge and be powered at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also,
so you can get
like only $90 right now.
Yeah.
If you want to buy one. And this is not some sponsorship.
There's nothing sponsored here. Daniel and I just saw this thing and we were like excited about it.
And it looks, it's actually, it looks like it's a nice product. I will endorse it.
It's replacing like 3 different, between like chargers and power banks. It replaced like 3 different things I bring to every event, because I'm like, well, yeah, I can just bring this and it can do most of the things I would need. You know, 2 smaller power banks and a nice charger to do. Great product. It's kind of like, it is the first power bank I've used in a while that feels like it was designed by committee in the best way possible. Like they sat everyone down and they were like, what's your wish list for a portable power bank? And like they took most of the things people wrote in and packed them into one device. It's great.
It's so funny. And there's a screen on it too, which has a little smiley face.
If you pull the retractable cord enough times, it like smiles at you. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's our best in show of CES. Really screw all the other gadgets. This is the one.
This power bank. I don't know, man. I'm excited about it. Well, because like I didn't have a power bank that could power, or like at least like at full speed power, like my Steam Deck, for example, and this can do that. Same, actually, my laptop too. I didn't have anything that was capable of putting out that kind of juice, and this can. So it is my now go-to plain power bank for sure.
All right, last thing I want to mention is this morning, as we're recording Monday the 13th, feels a little bit like Friday the 13th, kind of spooky. But Patrick Spence, former CEO of Sonos, has been ousted. This comes after 8-9 months of turmoil at the company. Stock's been demolished. Reputation has been demolished even more. This is a company that I would say was up there with like Apple as being respected for the quality and reliability of its products prior to May of 2024. And then alongside its good but not great Sonos Ace headphones, it released an update to its app that just made everything worse.
Nuts. Yeah.
It is now January 2025, and I can barely use my Sonos system. Still,
I've heard that from a lot of people, like people outside of our tech world, like people with just Sonos products are just like, yeah, it just doesn't work anymore.
It is kind of shocking that they've spent the last 8 months, 6 months in earnest updating the app, bringing it back to feature parity with the old one. But fundamentally, like the system is still unstable. So Tom Conrad, formerly of Apple, Snap, and Quibi, is taking over as interim CEO. And
that's a successful
well, I mean, Apple. He was at Apple.
Sure.
Let's not forget. But no, you're right. He's been there for a long time.
When you have Quibi on your resume, that is all I'm going to pay attention to. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter where you worked. You could tell me you launched the iPhone. You could, like, if Steve Jobs was like, yeah, I left Apple and went to work at Quibi, I'd be like, damn, he lost it.
I mean, Jeffrey Katzenberg started Quibi, so...
And I'm here to say, damn, he lost it. Yeah, I stand by this. Jeffrey Katzenberg lost it. If he ever had it, everything I know about him implies that some of his best successes were luck and not skill.
I mean, he is the man behind DreamWorks Studios.
He's the K in SGK.
He is
DreamWorks SGK.
He is also the man behind the Shrek series. So
he is. That's
man can do no wrong in my eyes.
That's true. He's done other things that were wrong.
He's never done anything else. But also, I've just discovered that Shrek 5 is coming out in 2026.
Yeah, they had to move it to a new.
I didn't know this.
Yeah,
and now I do. Okay, so yeah, that is, I think, a good thing in the world of Sonos news. As much as I like Patrick, I've met him many times. He's a lovely Canadian, very soft-spoken, very humble. But this, I think it's very clear that like hubris kept him at the company longer than it should have. And he has been rightfully ousted. He should have fallen on his sword months ago. So
I just want to say that I wish, look, I've never met Patrick. I wish he would have talked to me first, because for $1,875,000 in severance, I would have fallen on the sword for him, is all I'm saying.
No, but he's only earning a base salary of $7,500 per month for the rest of his tenure there until June 30th. So really, he's not
That's
earning
fine
that
too. I would take that too.
$1.87 million for completely ruining a company. That's actually, I mean, fairly small if you look at like the history of people.
It is.
Ruining
That's
companies.
true. But like, if you're being outed because your product has become so bad that everyone's like, yeah, I can't use it anymore. I don't know if I still think $2 million is a pretty nice package.
It doesn't compare to Adam Newman, who received $445 million when he was ousted from WeWork.
Nice work if you can get it.
But you know, that's neither here nor there.
I need to fail harder, is what I've learned from this.
I agree.
Just I have not failed hard enough.
You could try. You can do it. I believe in you.
I don't know if I can fail at $445 million worth.
Most people can't fail at $445 million.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of being a CEO, I think.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't?
Yeah, I just want everyone to know that the conversation I had the most at CES was not about smart glasses or AI or battery banks. It was about the Buffalo Bills.
That's true.
Everyone's like, Daniel was there for it.
I was present for most of these conversations.
I don't know what happened, but everyone wants to talk about football and tech now, and I just want people to know that I think I genuinely had, like, between talking to PR people, talking to like other reporters, and talking to people like to Uber drivers or cab drivers, like at least 30 conversations about the Buffalo Bills, which is nuts. So
I'm just shocked at how many people care about the Buffalo Bills.
Popular sports team.
Popular sport is what I'm
Popular
getting.
Sport. Absolutely.
I know that it's getting close to the Super Bowl and we're in the playoffs and it always happens at CES. But like, I was out basketballed by football and I did not like it. I did not get as many conversations about the NBA as I would have liked.
It made sense on Sunday when I was wearing a Bills sweatshirt. It surprised me when people would look at my name tag, which said Buffalo, New York on it, and would immediately go, Bills fan? And then we'd have like 5 to 10 minutes of conversation about the Bills and their chances of taking down the Broncos, which they did. So
correct.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all. That's all I wanted to say.
That's what's making you happy this week, I assume.
You know what? That is what's making me happy this week. Daniel, what's making you happy?
I'm glad to be home. And you
had a late flight.
I had a red eye home, and I basically just rode off the next day. So I'm glad to be feeling like myself again. Yeah. What's making me happy is a coffee. So I'm a big coffee guy. If you've been following the show, you know this. But so I'm inherently skeptical of all collabs ever. If you're a brand and you do a collab with any influencer or brand outside of your sphere, I am going to be skeptical of its quality just by virtue of being a cynical person. Yeah. So when I saw that one of the local coffee roasters that I like did a collaboration with famed Toronto rock band, the Darcys, I was not expecting much. And I'm sure most people don't know who the Darcys are, but they're like a fairly well-known Canadian indie band. They lean on like a more poppy sound. You should go listen to them. They're fine. But they collaborated with this roaster called Ethica Coffee Roasters on a beautiful anaerobic Ethiopian coffee that I have been enjoying over the last couple of days. And it is by far the nicest collab. Like I've never gone out of my way to try like these kinds of collabs before, but like this one is making me hopeful that they're not all garbage. It's not cheap. It's $33 a bag Canadian. But if you are in Canada and you want to try it, I would, and it's not sold out, which, it isn't sold out.
No. It was sold out at the Darcy's website, but then I was able to go to the Ethica website.
If you don't mind shipping. So it's, if you're in Canada, shipping is free over $50. Buy 2 bags, tell them I sent you. You get free shipping. I don't know if they ship to the US, but it's probably worth it just to try it out. It autofilled New York in when I went to check out here. So, and it is $23.36 for that is not worth it
for America.
Oh no, but free shipping free to US for orders over $65.
No, I'm saying like the price of the bag is $23.
What?
US. Yeah.
That's a bargain. Okay. Then you should buy 3 bags and get them shipped to the US if you're listening to this. Anyway, there you go. I cannot recommend this enough. It is incredible coffee. That is what's making me happy this week. That's what I was drinking on the show, which is why I'm in such a good mood right now. So if you want to be like me, go.
Yeah, and not like me drinking like a not particularly good
banana flavored Red Bull.
I wish it was banana flavored. It's tropical flavored. I would rather it be banana flavored. It's really not very good, but we got a really cheap deal on a variety pack of Red Bull. So.
All right, well, enjoy. All right, that's the show. Will, good luck. Are your Bills playing this weekend? I don't even know.
Yeah, but are we recording Friday?
You are. Yeah. So we didn't record at CES, so we're going to record again this week. We'll have a Galaxy preview / whatever else happened in the week. But we wanted to get a CES show out, even though it's a bit late. We're sorry about that.
Yes. The Bills are playing though. Can I tell you the bad news? They have, this is essentially the game of the year. It's against the Ravens. The MVP conversation in the NFL has been between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. So this is essentially the game for the MVP slot. And therefore, first of all, the Bills have a terrible track record of losing the game of the year, and this feels like the game of the year. Secondly, it because it's such a big game, they put it in the 6:30 primetime slot on Sunday, and I have a 7:15 a.m. flight to catch the next day, so I'm not looking forward to staying up to watch this game. But I will, because I support my team.
Good for you. Also, my video just disappeared, and I think that's because my computer also stopped wanting to hear about the Bills. So that's a good time to end things. Thank you so much for listening. Send us feedback, podcast@androidpolice.com. We love hearing from you. Let us know what your favorite announcements were from CES. Let us know what you think about the OnePlus 13. Let us know what you're hoping for with the Galaxy S25 series or anything else that's on your mind.
Sure.
Until then.
Yeah, this is our first 2025 podcast too. So just send in resolutions, like tech resolutions. What do you want to do this year? You want to upgrade your phone? You want to stop using
there I am.
social media?
I'm back.
Send it in. Daniel's back, so I was just stalling so you could say goodbye.
I love me some continuity camera. It works 98% of the time.
There we go.
Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.